Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lost with Friends. As always, I'm your host, Paul, and today we have something different, a returning guest and a new guest. Go ahead, introduce yourselves, guys.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Esteban. I'm the returning guest.
Aloha, friends. My name is Kevin Zane from South Jersey, right across the bridge from Philadelphia. And this is my podcast debut. So, Paul, thank you for having me. Thank you for popping my podcast cherry.
I mean, I will appreciate anybody on the show, especially someone who words it like that, so yay. So now, for anybody who listens to all of these, normally I tend to ask people about how they got into Lost and things like that. Kevin and I are actually going to be recording the next episode in a little bit after we're done with this. So these guys talked to me beforehand, and they have a little interesting story that they want to share with you guys. So, guys, the floor is yours.
All right, so I'll start it off. And I thought I had such a great idea. I was going to come up with a great shirt to wear for the first day of Lost 2014 when we all got together in Hawaii. And it turns out, as I'm standing there in line waiting to meet Jorge Garcia, actually it was before that, wasn't it? I'm messing up the story already because it was the night before.
No. Oh, no. It was the first day, yeah, because the first day was the panel or the Q&A with Jorge, and then at night it was the...
Right. Okay, so I'm not messing it up. So I'm standing there in line, and I'm wearing my I Heart Shih Tzus shirt that Hurley picked up, I think it was season 4, when he was running around with Saeed, and he was kind of a fugitive, and needed to change his look.
That's correct.
And,
that's right.
And very few people even picked up on it. And as a matter of fact, somebody even argued with me as they were going down the line. Somebody was taking pictures and saying, oh, I want to get everybody who's wearing like a Lost theme outfit or T-shirt or something. And somebody said, hey, get him, pointing to me. And whoever was taking the pictures, I don't know who it was. I can't remember. And I hope that they're not listening to this. They're like, that's not a Lost T-shirt. What are you talking about? But long story kind of short, down comes Esteban, and he's wearing the same shirt as I am. Not filling it out quite as large as me. Like I'm a bigger guy. I thought, it's a big guy's kind of shirt. Hurley was wearing it, but yeah, we were both standing there staring at each other wearing the same shirt. But that's it's the first friendship I formed, just based off the shirt, and I'm kind of glad it happened that way.
And I think we both had the same reaction, like, oh man, because we both thought we were so cool. We knew we were going to be the only people wearing that shirt. And then, we're walking down this hall, and then I see Kevin, and I'm like, what the F? Like, man, he blew it for me. But, and I think you stole my experience, because I had the exact same experience with somebody who was taking pictures of the T-shirt. And then I remember she said, I want to take a picture of your, let me see your T-shirt. And I'm like, I showed it to her. I remember who it was. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name everybody. But she was like, wait, that's not a Lost T-shirt. And I remember the entire line gasped, like, oh, how dare you? Why are you here? We have an intruder here. It's like, she doesn't belong here. It was hilarious. It was a great way to start the whole event.
Were you present for that, Paul?
I want to say that I was actually standing, because I think I do remember this happening, but I don't know if I was how far away from you guys I actually was in the line.
See, because Paul, you were one of the guys, like, the days leading up, months probably leading up to the event, I was, like, monitoring that Lost 2014 hashtag. And you were one of the people I actually recognized from using that hashtag.
Oh, really?
And yeah, but I don't think I ever told you this, but like I didn't see you until I don't remember seeing you on any of the tours or at the Q&A or the charity auction. I don't remember seeing you until that night out on the beach after everything was over. Right. That's the first time I was like, oh, hey, it's that guy who's always using the hashtag.
Well, actually,
if you prior to that.
If you look at pretty much any of the official pictures, I am only in one picture, so it's not that unfathomable that you didn't see me at the event, because even the official photographer didn't see me at the event, really.
Yeah, I think I'm in one. Aside from the big group photo, I think I'm in one myself, and that's only because you could see my yellow I Love Shih Tzus shirt standing out in the
me.
back of the crowd. You were dressed up as Desmond at that point.
True. I had.
Okay, so when I asked Kevin, I said, hey, would you like to be on the show? And he graciously said yes. And I said, what episode or episodes would you want? And you named Homecoming and Outlaws. And you said Homecoming for a very specific reason. Can you let us know what that reason was?
I did, because I've been listening to the show. I've listened to every episode that you've released thus far. And
Thank you.
it just seems like you're very welcome. And it just seems like everybody hates Charlie. Not everybody hates Hugo or anybody else. Everybody seems to hate Charlie. And honestly, I'm kind of a Charlie fan. And I wanted to have Charlie's episode, Homecoming, just so I could show him a little love.
Oh, here we go.
Obviously, yeah, one of the most... one of the guests who had the most hatred for Charlie was our friend Esteban here.
Now, have you heard Esteban's theory about people who like Charlie?
Did you say it in that 3-hour long episode you did?
I believe I did. Yes,
I believe I did.
But
refresh my memory. Refresh the new listeners' memory.
It might have been edited out, but I feel like people who like Charlie haven't seen the show again. And was that my theory?
It was something along the lines of anybody who likes Charlie has never seen the show more than once.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly my theory. That's exactly my theory.
I promise you, sir, I've seen the show straight through many times.
Well, maybe you weren't paying attention.
That man, possible. I have a little ADD. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So,
But no, I have to say that after watching this episode, I mean, it doesn't change my whole perspective on Charlie, but it was very difficult to find something not to like about him on this episode, because I enjoyed the episode quite a lot after watching it today, in preparation for the podcast. So I'm sorry, but I guess I lost this one. Charlie was kind of cool in this episode.
there you go, Kevin. You didn't even have to do anything except show up.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
I apologize
I just came here.
I apologize to all my followers and my fandom and fans. I'm sorry about that. To all the Charlie haters.
Sorry. I think the opposite of your theory might be true. You going back and watching it is going to make you like it more, especially down the line. Because the man is a hero. Let's not get confused. The man is a hero.
Okay, let's get this started, please.
So the way that this normally goes, and of course, format can change at any moment. Esteban, you know this. Kevin, you probably know from listening. I take notes. I point out things that I found interesting. See if you guys have anything to add or,
Oh, I got notes.
Okay. So I guess we could start it off, right? The last few episodes, just so you guys know, have been, minor spoilers allowed. I know, Esteban, when you and I talked previously, and Kevin, you said you've been listening the whole time, it's been, little spoilers here and there, whatever, but once I did the episode where we talked, where the hatch pretty much first appears, I'm like, I think we could kind of throw the spoiler thing out the window, because it gets more and more difficult to not discuss spoilers as the show goes on.
Yeah, I kind of already said he's going to be a hero. I don't want to elaborate too much. I can kind of dance around it, but if I say something that spoils a later episode, I'm sorry.
I know the rules, so.
So my first note is Charlie hears all the commotion as Claire returns. We saw that at the end of the previous episode.
And I thought it was interesting, like the episode opens with the eye opening, but not as we're used to seeing it or had seen it previously. It wasn't like a super close up, but it's just Charlie waking up, I believe.
Right. I have everyone is curious, and Jack just wants everybody to back away so that he could take care of his patient, pretty much at that point. And then Claire freaks out because she doesn't seem to know anybody. And then I wrote, uh-oh.
Yeah, I think the memory loss thing, it's kind of a TV show trope where, the one person suddenly loses their memory because of some trauma. I really wasn't digging, especially being they kind of drop it pretty quick. Like, I'm not sure how much more of a big point it is going forward.
Right.
Well, it does go into like season 2, I believe, right? And spoilers, never mind. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. It does go into season 2 a little bit, but even still, they don't really mention it because it's just, okay, she doesn't remember certain things, and then they kind of, this episode, a little bit of the next episode, and then I'm pretty sure they kind of just drop it overall until it gets to the point where they're like, okay, let's once again revisit. Oh, yeah, remember, she doesn't have a memory of anything that happened.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a little tropey.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes, the writers didn't know what to do with Claire sometimes. And, I feel like they use her every now and then just to create some, mystery on the island or something, but they never really quite developed like the whole thing with her. That's my opinion. I don't know.
And they were kind of just killing time until the baby was born.
Exactly. She was just a vessel.
Actually, no, that makes sense, and with regards to, and I could actually argue that with several of the characters, because although she was a main character, I never really saw her as like, Jack or Locke or Saeed level main character,
Yeah.
I mean, there's, slight spoiler, there's a long period of time where she's not around very much, so, and I think I noticed she wasn't listed in with the main cast at this point. I'm pretty sure she did at some point, but when I saw the credits, it just seemed a little weird to me, like her name seemed to come after the main cast.
If I remember correctly, when in the episodes where she wasn't there, she wasn't listed, like, the, what is it, 2 or 3 episodes right before this?
Right. Yeah, so that says to me, I believe she was kind of thought of as a part-time cast member. Maybe I'm wrong.
I have the fact that, Boone starts to be asking all the questions that we should be asking. What if he's still out there? All that kind of stuff. And then Charlie tries helping Claire. I think he comes on a little too strong, but he doesn't know any better. He can't possibly get into her mindset. And then he sums everything up perfectly with Ethan's the bad guy, which I think is ironic considering how the others see themselves.
Right, but I mean, you can't blame them for thinking that. I mean, after all, Ethan just tried to strangle him, and he kidnapped Claire. So of course he's seen as the bad guy, even though his intentions later on are revealed, and we know that maybe it wasn't that bad. But I mean, you can't blame them. I mean, they're in a deserted island, and along comes this guy who has been pretending to be with them, or one of them, for all this time. So I guess I see the irony, but I mean, you can't blame them.
Yeah, and Ethan, even in this episode, he has that encounter with Charlie after knocking Jin out with a stone to the head. And just, can we talk about Ethan's super strength for a minute? Like, he picks Charlie up against the tree with one hand. Like,
yes, thank you. I actually have that later on. I don't know if I've put that episode up yet as of the time of this recording, but I know that I discussed this with, I believe, Jake especially, and he's like, well, I don't know if he has super strength. He goes, because one could argue that about Jack in a few episodes. And I'm like, no, he seems to have super strength.
Yeah, they definitely portrayed him that way. I don't think he's really that big of a person, but the way like the camera angles kind of make him look big and menacing, and then he just picks up Charlie by the neck up against the tree, and they make a point to show his feet up off the ground. So yeah, he's definitely got a little super strength going on. Something in the water in Dharmaville, maybe.
No, even when he kills Scott/Steve, they say that he broke like almost like every single bone in his body. So, in a matter of seconds, basically. So,
yeah. I have. We have a flashback of Charlie and another British guy doing drugs in an alley, and then they have to con a woman to get drug money. And oddly enough, Charlie's pretty good at conning people.
Well, I mean, once you are, I don't want to, I guess, a low life, because he's a junkie and he's used to lying and all this. I guess that's a certain trait that you develop and you get used to it. And once you find your motivation, in this case, is finding your next fix, and you just do whatever, and you do it pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And not trying to get too personal or anything, but I've seen it personally, firsthand in my life. And when you want that fix, you are willing to do damn near anything to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have that Saeed thinks Claire has been brainwashed, and Charlie's quick reaction makes me laugh every time.
He always seems to have that want to jump and do something, act quick.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else, they're kind of very as far as being stranded on an island goes, they're kind of deliberative with Jack and Saeed and Locke, and they just want to talk everything over.
I don't know. I could argue Jack tends to be like that too, where it's like, let's just, let's get going. I think I have that as one of my notes in a few minutes. Because he's, even when she was taken, Locke was like, let's plan things out, let's get a search party going, and Jack was like, no, we could lose the trail, let's just go. And then in a few minutes, when they're like, oh, well, let's figure this out, and Locke is like, he knows this island better than us, and like Locke is always like, let's plan everything out. But I think Jack is kind of like that too.
This is true. He definitely can be, especially when matters are a little more personal to him. He tends to lose sight of the big picture.
I do have a note, which, Kevin, you pretty much stated it straight up, but I have Saeed also points out how rare actual amnesia is. It's almost as if it's pretty much only ever a plot device on TV or something.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it.
I mean, and they use it several times throughout the show. And I have to say, like, I mean, I can think of another few instances where it happens, and I feel like this is one of the best ones that they managed to incorporate into the whole show. And I mean, I didn't mind it at all. I didn't mind this episode at all with the whole amnesia thing.
And at this point, like, I haven't done a full rewatch, but they already tried to set up the radio signal or whatever Saeed was trying to set up, and then Saeed got hit in the head and didn't know who hit him, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he didn't remember, and somewhere down the line, son forgets how to talk. Like, I put this on the same level as that, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's exactly what I was referring to, but I feel like this is one of the best ones because it adds a certain mystery to the show because we don't know what happened that made her, lose her memory.
I think that's the sign of a good show is because, like, for this, not only will I buy it, but as you guys said, it's used several times. You know what I mean? So, like, I'll buy the fact that every time something happens where people forget something, and I'm just like, yeah, all right, I'll go along with it for this, Yeah,
it's sort of like what we had talked on the previous episode that we did, White Rabbit. Well, we have like the cliche of the cliffhanger with Jack, hanging from the cliff, and then Locke saves him. I feel like this falls into the same category. And like I said, this one adds a little bit of mystery because you don't know what happened to her to, make her lose her memory.
All right, how about, now this is something I just thought of now, this isn't in my notes, and I'm going to throw it out there. How about the juxtaposition of Charlie in the flashbacks dealing with his problem with drugs, but we also find out that the reason why Claire's memory has been affected is at least partially because she's been injected with some sort of drugs.
There you go.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
no. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
because
like,
she has been injected, or
exactly.
Right.
Ethan's been injecting her with drugs, so that's
Right.
affecting her memory.
Of course. Yeah, that's pretty
So,
good.
Yeah, never thought about that.
not the same kind, obviously, but still.
I have Charlie talking with Jin in the jungle about everything that's happened so far. I thought that was a great tool for exposition, just so that, it gives Charlie the chance to be like, I need to just talk some stuff out, but it also helps catch the audience up on certain things that's been happening.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It was good for that, and it was, again, like I said, Jin eventually takes a stone to the head, and that's when Ethan shows up. They definitely do the knockout trope too, like, oh, this person's conveniently unconscious while all this is going on. So
Yeah.
I swear I love this show. I'm not here to just talk bad about it. They were still very much, kind of finding their footing in season 1, so I'll forgive them.
There were certain things that I've pointed out in various episodes so far where I'm like, this doesn't quite make sense logically. And Esteban said the same thing to me the last time we recorded an episode. He's like, you don't have to point out every flawed thing of logic in the show.
This is true, because especially early on, you'll definitely find them.
I have Charlie, Jack, and Locke talking about what to do with Ethan's threat. I never paid attention until I watched it this time to the fact that Jack is wearing a black shirt and Locke is wearing a white shirt.
Yeah, they did pick up on that from the beginning. Obviously, that was something that they established very early on and kind of kept going with throughout the entire series.
And then, like I said earlier, much like when Ethan took Claire, Locke wants to take a moment and assess the situation versus Jack, who just wants to, gung-ho, straight into the jungle, let's go after him. And then, in a moment later, Jin and Sun are at the caves, and Jin tells Sun that it's because of the other survivors that he got attacked. And he's not exactly wrong.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it that's something that I had mentioned when we first, had our first podcast, how Jin and Sun, I feel like they're not, besides the whole language barrier thing, I feel like they are trying to survive on their own and see, they don't want to be included with the other ones, and they see, like in this case, how he got attacked because of the other ones. So I feel like there's always a little bit of resentment there. At least for now.
Yep. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'd agree with that.
I feel like Jin and Sun, if they were the only two survivors, those two probably could have survived together peacefully for a long time.
Right. And is this the scene where Jin and is asking her, like, what do you think is wrong with her? Do you think the baby's okay? And then she's answering. At this point, does Jin know that Sun can speak English?
He
Not
does
yet,
not
right?
know.
Right.
Jin
so
doesn't know. We, as the audience, do, though, at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But I really like that scene because it almost make it seem like he's suspicious. Like maybe she can pick up some, certain words in English, or I feel like he knows a little bit, and that's why he's asking all these questions, and then that's why the exchange, those looks like, like, oh, do you know something? And then she looks back at him like, do you know that I know? So I felt like that was a little bit, it was almost like a gift to the audience to make it seem like maybe Jin knows that Sun can speak English.
Yeah, there was definitely a look there that he shot her, and I wasn't sure if it was because he suspects that she does understand, or if it was because they were talking about the baby.
Yeah, there's a lot there, because I also feel like Jin thinks that maybe Sun is a little bit more sympathetic towards the other one, so he's giving her that look also, maybe because he thinks, well, you're just trying to help them, and you're trying to get too involved with them, so the less you get involved, the less we're going to be affected by this whole situation. So there's a
Also,
lot
if
there
she-
that you can interpret that scene.
And if she really couldn't understand, then maybe she wouldn't be so sympathetic to the others.
Right.
And by the way, while I'm saying the others, they must have said others or another probably a good 24 times in this episode. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but especially early on, before there were an actual others, they still say others a lot.
I actually did notice that. I remember a few years back, I was watching. I think I had seen the show maybe once or twice through, and I want to say G4. I don't even know if that channel exists anymore. But they were running. It was kind of like a pop-up video type thing for Lost, and they were running the first season, and I was like, oh, all right, I'll watch this. And like they're putting all of these spoilers up, and like Jack and Locke at one point are saying about like, oh, we need to, something about the others in regards to the other survivors, and these things are popping up on the screen where it's like, oh, there are others, Jack, but not who you're talking about. And I'm like, that's terrible to have. Like, what if somebody is trying to watch this for the first time and you're putting up these like huge spoiler things?
Yeah. I would have loved that personally, but yeah, I could see if you're actually trying to watch it for the first time, that'd be annoying.
Absolutely.
I have Charlie and Claire talking in the jungle, and he lies to her about what's going on. And of course, she gets mad at him later for that.
Yeah, I guess, at this point, we're actually trying to, or I was able to see a little bit of Charlie's, good side, because I feel like he's actually trying to protect her, because he knows that she just went through a whole, traumatic experience, and he doesn't want to aggravate the whole situation. So I guess, score Charlie, whatever. Charlie 1, me 0.
You made my argument for me. I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, I'm my own worst enemy at this point.
I have Lucy invites Charlie home for tea because they're British, and then she makes a fantastic joke referencing The Office, which I love.
What was it again? I completely missed that.
She's walking into another room, and he's like, oh, where is your father? And she says he's buying a paper company in Slough, which is where the original British version of The Office takes place.
Oh, gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, I was never an Office guy, the UK or the American version. So I did see that little tidbit when I was doing a little research for the episode, but I never would have picked up on that.
And then I have that Charlie is legitimately falling for Lucy at this point, when he's looking at that Winston Churchill item, but then he seems to just have this look in his eye, I think.
Yeah, I think he was really internally struggling with that because he knows eventually he's really going to need that fix, but at the same time, he's getting along with this girl. He likes this girl. It happens sometimes. You start talking to someone, don't expect it to go somewhere, but it does. And he still has those kind of best intentions.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Can we talk about Charlie's brother's name is Liam, and obviously there's supposed to be that Oasis kind of connection where it's, they're the rock band, but they're the feuding brothers in the rock band. Is there really no other name we could have came up with? Is there a shortage of British names? He has to be Liam.
I hear you.
I don't know. I like the name.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because, I grew up, in a Spanish-speaking country, and when I was watching the show, I was still back there. And, I mean, to me, these were things that I didn't pick up. It was just, Liam sounds British to me, so, I mean, let's just go with it.
Definitely is. I just thought it was kind of beating us over the head with the Oasis comparison.
Yeah.
I could, I understand. I gotcha. Kate tells Jack he needs to use the guns. And then Jack says about someone accidentally shooting someone else based on a strange noise. Bit of foreshadowing, perhaps?
Yeah, I pretty much made that same note. Definitely a little foreshadowing there, to the point where I feel like they might have felt like they had to do that at some point, whether they had it planned at that point or not.
I have that Saeed seems hesitant about Boone helping with sentry duty, but Locke reassures him. He gets happy that someone believes in him. And then, of course, it backfires.
I mean, at this point, you know better than, to trust Boone with a life or death situation. And because we talked about it on our last podcast how incompetent he is. And here he goes again, and I don't know why. I feel like this is all Locke's fault, because he's just trying to find his companion, or not his companion, but his sidekick. So he just wants somebody who can kick around, basically. So that definitely gives another meaning to the word sidekick. But yeah, and he just goes on to encourage him, and then this happens. Poor Scott.
Well, you have to remember, though, about 2, maybe 3 episodes before this is where he gives Boone the wacky paste, as someone calls it, to kind of, put him back on the track of, like, I'm going to follow Locke. I'm not going to be distracted by anything. So maybe he thinks at this point, okay, well, now Boone is focused. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's better now. Obviously, he's not. But maybe Locke thinks that he is.
Yeah, well, clearly he isn't.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys have said. In my notes, I took notes old school on a legal pad, and I just wrote 4 words: poor Boone, wannabe hero.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
definitely
all you can say about him.
That's definitely something that I've pointed out many times on this series.
Yeah, but at some point, after failing so many times, you have to take a step back and be like, okay, maybe this is not my thing. Maybe I'm just gonna be, a bystander, and I'm not gonna try to take, the lead on everything.
But does anybody want to be that in life? Does anybody want to just be like one of the sheep?
Listen, Paul, after striking out so many times, I'm just going to take the bench. That's just me.
Okay.
I'm just going to pick a different sport.
Well, I mean, you already have one up on me, because I'm not nothing sports with me. Like, so you at least tried. I wouldn't have even went out for the team.
And this trend continues, because even in the end, and spoilers, 3, 2, 1, it's your fault if you're still listening, he's still getting his ass kicked in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This just keeps going. Nothing would ever change with him.
Right. He's just a pawn. He's just another piece in the, big, ultimate game or whatever. He's just not a crucial piece.
He's there for the ladies. He's pretty to look at, right?
Yeah, he's disposable. Yeah. I bet if we had a lady, doing the podcast right now, she would have something, different to say about it.
No, because I've had Megan on, and she doesn't really think of him like that, so.
And that is why Megan is awesome.
I have Charlie meeting Lucy's dad, who I know I've seen in other things, but I wasn't bothered to look up what other things I've seen him in. But he talks with Charlie about the fact that Charlie, that one eventually needs to move on from things like that. And because of that, Charlie basically has a breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I mean, my mind went completely, in a different direction. But who makes a ton of money selling copiers? That doesn't seem to add up to me. It really doesn't. Then I really feel like, what was it, like Protestant Reformation is a great name for a band. Just saying.
I feel like it'd be kind of like a pyramid scheme. Like he's starting them at the bottom. One day you can run this company type deal. You just sell some more copiers. Keep going out there and trying to sell to people. Like recruit them, whatever. Yeah, you definitely doesn't sound like too promising of a career.
Right.
You also have to remember, though, this is at a time when Blockbuster still was around. So, anything was possible in those days.
That's true, and you definitely see more copiers around nowadays than you do Blockbusters. So,
yeah, they're still around. Well, apparently it was a big decision because they had like 6 people for the presentation on how, to use or operate the copy machine. So apparently it was a pretty big decision for the company to have 6, board members there to, vote on it.
Despite the fact that they were already told they had to buy at least 2, she jokes with them, remember?
Yeah, the fix was in. I love that line when she says the fix is in and he's just looking for his fix.
Right.
I have back on the island, the perimeter has been set and they're all waiting for Ethan, and then Boone falls asleep. So Saeed was right. And then Boone
I
goes
was
off.
also right.
Yes. And then Boone goes off into the jungle, hears something, he trips, and then it turns out it was just Vincent the dog.
Can we go back to the fact that he trips? Just another fail.
Yeah.
I have that Ethan did kill someone, though, and he came in through the water. That's because he's smart and knows the island better than all of them. And as I don't remember which one of you said it before, but pretty much every bone was broken in Scott's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little brutal. Like,
yeah, I mean, despite the whole brutality of the whole situation, which basically made it look like it was a Mortal Kombat end game. I like the fact that here comes Hurley and he says, well, maybe he was just maybe he just drowned, maybe he was just going for a swim and he drowned because I guess he was just trying to lighten the mood, I guess, or maybe not that. Maybe he's just trying to convince himself that there's not somebody out there who's trying to kill everybody in the island, and eventually it's gonna be him. So you gotta love Hurley for that,
right? Oh man, and Scott, I did see the note that he ends up being the first one buried in their little cemetery there, because I guess they had burned all the other bodies, correct?
Except for the marshal, yes.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even think about that, the fact that that was the first body in their cemetery.
Right.
It adds up, folks. Spoilers.
I have the fact that, the Scott-Steve joke continues. Sawyer saying that Steve drew the short straw.
Yeah.
And then the people in the caves are just staring at Claire. And she rightfully gets upset because she finds out what happens, and then she rightfully gets upset with Charlie for lying to her.
I like the fact that even though, she doesn't know anybody, she's still giving them an attitude like, Shannon, what's your name, Shannon? She says, Shannon, you're staring. I feel like she's still a little bit, I guess she's used to being judged. And, even before she got on the plane, because of the fact that she was a single mother and everything. So I feel like, first of all, nobody likes being stared at. And I feel like that's a little bit that's coming from her past to shine, I guess, here, even though probably that's not the best word.
And with everybody staring at her, were they thinking, like, hey, maybe we should give this girl up, like, because I could be next?
Right.
Is that the impression we're supposed to get there,
I think it was definitely like a, oh, that guy died and it's kind of your fault type thing.
Exactly. And then, who's going to be next?
I have, in the flashback, Charlie is going through withdrawal, but he's still aware of everything that's going on. He memorized the manual, and he's able to steal the Churchill cigarette case.
Yeah, he was looking for his way out at that point because he was feeling it.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty interesting because at that point he's probably about to, well, maybe not about to, but he's on his way to hitting rock bottom. So at this point, you just probably were thinking, how am I going to get out of the situation and how am I going to make myself feel better? So the only way that he's going to make himself, feel better is, stealing the thing and then, getting his fix.
Yeah.
So
my
of
girl
course
Lucy
he had to go for it.
Yeah. And he was doing everything he could to get out of it at that point too. But my girl Lucy, she was little on a stage 5 clinger status. Like, oh no, I'm taking you. Like, I got you this suit, and I'm taking you to work, and the fix is in.
I have that Jack tells Locke about the guns after Locke says that they're at a huge disadvantage. That's when he mentions, we're just idiots with sticks. And then I have the fact that the case is hidden by a large black rock, yet no one comments on this.
It's one of those things they just kind of conveniently swept under the rug. Like, this is not the black rock you were looking for. A little Jedi mind trick going on.
Right. I have that Jack seems really scared that Locke knows too well how to handle that gun.
You skipped right over one of my favorite lines, though.
I'm sorry.
Maybe not one of my top 5 or 10, but it is a good line. Why, Doctor, you've been holding out on us. I love that line. I don't know why.
I mean, at this point, I'd be afraid of Locke handling any type of weapon. So, if I'm going to give him one that actually, gives him a certain distance between him and his target, yes, I'd definitely be scared.
Yeah, because he is kind of still, at this point, just the creepy guy with 399 knives.
Yeah, and now he's the creepy guy with a gun.
But you said about a distance between him and whatever. Have you seen him throw a knife? He's pretty good with distance.
Yeah, but still, a knife can only go so far.
Fair enough.
Unless Walt's throwing it.
See, but you have to be special for that.
Mm-hmm.
The Locke is special.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of special.
I have Claire goes against Charlie's advice, and she pretty much offers herself up as bait.
Yeah, and still, I really don't see that happening. That's a move that I find pretty difficult to believe, especially for a future mother, because she's not only putting herself at risk. If she was by herself, I would understand it, but she's pregnant, she has a baby, and I know that she's maybe being a little bit, peer pressured into, volunteering as tribute. But I found that really difficult to believe.
And
I don't know.
The other thing, no, it's okay. Those just those stares might have bothered her that much, and obviously now she has a dead man on her conscience, so I could see that happening.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I don't know, because I look at it like, okay, she has no memory of really anything that's going on. From her perspective, she was kidnapped and taken away by this really strong guy who killed somebody, broke all of his bones, and now these people want to protect her. They seem to be armed, so I think it's more a matter of, like, she, for better or worse, she trusts them absolutely. A little foolish on her part, seeing as she doesn't really know them from her perspective of, no memory. She doesn't really know these people enough to trust them. But I think if she trusts them as much as they're implying she does, I think it kind of makes sense that even as an expectant mother, she would be like, you know what? I trust you guys enough. I think you guys are doing the right thing. Yeah, I'll put myself as bait.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm only saying that because I'm selfish, and I'd be like, let them take them. And let the chips, fall where they may. And but yeah, I wouldn't. I really didn't understand that decision making process there.
I mean, I don't want to get too dark here, but let's keep in mind that she was kind of on her way to give the baby away.
Yeah, but it's not because she didn't want to keep the baby. It's just because she didn't have any other choice, I feel. And I find it hard to believe that she would sacrifice herself for, at this point, people that she doesn't even know who they are, because she lost her memory. And I understand the fact that maybe she trusts all of them because they're trying to protect her, but I just don't find it plausible.
Fair enough. It's a fair point.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Especially for a pregnant lady. I mean, if it were somebody else, I could see it. But then again, I'm selfish. I wouldn't do it.
I have Locke and Jack won't let Charlie help as he's never fired a gun, which pretty much leads right into the montage of Charlie not being able to use the copier, which is just painfully awkward. Like, it's come to the point watching this so much, I can't even watch that scene because it's just so painfully awkward to me.
Okay, but let me tell you something. And in Charlie's defense, and again, I'm going to let my fans down. Again, my first job was at a copy center, and those things, they have a mind of their own. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I mean, they just say push the button. That doesn't, foreshadowing, push the button. But that doesn't work. I mean, they have 17 different trays where you can load the paper in. It's, I feel for Charlie there, and I completely, felt a little bit sympathetic there for him. Yeah. What I don't understand is why would he throw up on top of the thing? Why would he open the copier and throw on top of the thing? That makes no sense. I feel like, it's almost like a reflex. You just think that it's, you open something and it's going to be like a trash can or something. But, I mean, it's just glass there and it's just going to splash all over. So that's disgusting.
And if you notice about this scene, like it's kind of a sad scene because you got somebody, you have an addict going through withdrawal, but it's very much played for comedic effect, especially with the scoring. If you guys didn't notice it the first time around, go back and I know it'd be torture for you, Paul, but go back and watch that scene. There's some very odd scoring, the music bed on that scene. Very different from what is typical of this show.
I feel
it's
like
the clown circus music.
I feel like the music in that scene is kind of like a nod to like classic British comedy music.
Yeah, little Benny Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And it's the C815 copier, by the way. Did we mention that?
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. There you go. See, I'm already starting to fail in my duty as host.
I was hoping you would mention something because you have been trying to pick up all the time that they mentioned the numbers even before we knew about the numbers. But that was one that was very obvious. So shame on you.
Shame on me.
Shame.
I have that Locke says they need a fourth shooter for one of the numbers. And that Sawyer is the obvious choice.
Good job.
But Jack won't tell Sawyer where he got the guns from. Because was, in that episode, he's just like, what's in the case? And, whatever. And all he wanted to know was what was there. And even still, Jack won't tell him where he got the guns.
Right. And by the way, guys, Kate wants to come.
That's my next note, yeah. Go ahead.
You think.
Surprise, surprise, Kate wants to come. Even though the last time we saw her, she was pretending to not know how to take a gun apart or what to do with a gun to begin with, right?
That is exactly what I have as my note, yes. In front of Sawyer and Saeed, suddenly she knows how to use a gun and neither of them question it.
We gotta write that one off.
We have an expression in Venezuela, for somebody who always wants to be part of, things, and she's always wanted, she always wants to go out and she always wants to go to somebody's house. It's called like a hot foot because they always, they're ready to go out. So I just can see her in the back, and she's like, I couldn't remember that if she's asked to go with them, and I'm like, wait, this isn't going to happen because I know Kate by now, so I know that she wants to go. And then I like how there's always this pissing contest between Jack and Sawyer, and I feel like Sawyer gives the gun to Kate just to piss Jack off. Wait, that was not a good choice.
that was a bad 3-word combination right there.
Okay, so this is definitely going to get edited.
I was just going to say, now I'm wondering, do I have to edit that or not? Do you want to reword it so you could keep the thought in there?
I don't care. You can leave it as it is.
Nah, let's keep it. they do go to Sawyer, even though the last time we saw Kate, she didn't know what to do with a gun. And then last time Sawyer had a gun, wasn't the time he shot the polar bear, which would have been fine, but the time that he missed trying to kill the marshal.
Right, but did you notice that Jack threw that right in his face?
Yeah, but it's almost like, he's just trying to mention the polar bear as much as he can to try to make people forget about the fact that he missed killing the sheriff.
It ain't his fault. He just can't see up close. So,
I loved his use of back in the old days, like a month ago, pretty much in their timeline.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I also like it when Sawyer gets the gun to Kate, and then she gives Jack this look like, it's almost like when you're a kid and then you ask for something, to your dad, and then he says no, so you go to your mom and then your mom says yes. So it's almost like, see, you said no, but he said yes, so now I've got my gun and now I'm going with you.
It reminded me of the look that says, sorry, bro,
It's like, looks like I'm coming now.
I have Charlie watches them and as they prepare, and Saeed specifically says, "We want him alive." I don't know if Charlie was able to hear that line, but they make it a point that Saeed says, "We want him alive."
Yeah, I don't think he really cared.
Yeah, at this point, he just wants him dead. A, because, he tried to kill him, and B, because he's a threat, to Claire. So, and if there's something that we know about Charlie at this point, is that he only cares about himself, and now he cares about Kate. Sorry, not Kate, Claire. So, yeah, he's not happy about that. And the fact that they didn't let him go with them. So, he's definitely not happy about that.
I have that we see angles. I keep calling them the Fierce Five, the shooters. I don't know why. That's just what I dubbed them in my head. That we see the angles, how, because Saeed, I believe it's Saeed mentions, we'll all have a line of sight on you, and so then we see each of those angles. And then Ethan shows up, and Jack takes him down, but they keep fighting, and this is where Jack does not have super strength.
Ethan doesn't have super strength.
No. In an episode, I don't know if I left it in or not, but Jake mentioned that because I had said about the fact that Ethan had super strength a few episodes ago, and Jake said, oh yeah, but one could argue that in a few episodes from now, Jack has super strength too. But if you watch this fight, he really doesn't. He just happens to have the advantage. I think Ethan just has super strength.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Jack does do a good job, though. He puts up a good fight, and obviously comes out on top.
Absolutely.
I think the fight itself was actually shot very well. Looked like they were getting some good shots on each other. It's one of the better hand-to-hand fights in the entire show, I think.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I really like this whole scene, and I feel like this whole scene makes up for the entire episode. No, and I don't mean it in a bad way. I really enjoyed the episode. Granted, it's not one of the best ones, but having not seen season 1 for a long time, and I've only seen 2 episodes, this year thus far, because I did the podcast for White Rabbit and now this one. I have to say that it's a really good episode, and this scene, even though I already knew what was going to happen because I've seen it, 6 times at the very least, I was just like, I was intrigued, and it kept me, I don't know, it really hooked me in, I guess. It was a very, the rain, the music, and like the whole scene where Saeed is up in the tree and everybody's hiding, and then she's just waiting for somebody to come and, kidnap her. I thought it was and then, the whole fight scene. It was a very good scene, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I just think it was very well done, and it's obviously a big moment, a pivotal point, where Ethan ends up getting capped.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. But to your point, Kevin, I have about the fact that both Locke and Saeed comment on needing to hold fire. Because, I believe it's Sawyer and Kate show up a little late, right? When they finally got him.
Yeah.
And then Sawyer still doesn't know who or what Ethan is, and then we see a fantastic shot, only for a moment, where it's Ethan on one side and the 5 or 6, if you count Claire, of them on the other side, when Sawyer calls him Jungle Boy. I love that. It's only for a moment. But it's just, Ethan, like I said, down on his knees on the one side, and the rest of them, almost all of them, pointing their guns at him on the other side. It just looks like it could be like a movie poster.
Right.
Yeah, and I gotta say, let me just point this out real quick. Knowing what we would come to know about Ethan and where he came from, why would you come alone?
Well,
I understand why they did it. You don't want to give too much away as far as the show goes, the writing in and of itself. But if you want to point out a little logistical flaw,
yeah, I agree with you on that. And if there's something that we know about the others at this point, is that they usually plan all these situations as a whole and not just somebody. But didn't he get in trouble because he had lost, the girl or something, or he just wanted to cover up for the fact that he had lost her, something like that? Don't they address that in season 2 or 3 maybe?
You may be correct.
I believe there is a scene. I want to say maybe Mr. Friendly says to him, you need to get her back, or something like that.
Yeah,
but
that does ring a bell, so that does make sense.
But no, you're right, because even in the episode where he took her, it was brought up in dialogue the fact that that Charlie says all they wanted was Claire, which implies that at some point between Ethan taking them, that somebody else, at least multiple other people, came along at some point. So Kevin, I believe you are right in the fact that why would he come alone? It makes no real sense.
Yeah, it makes for a good scene and a good plot on the show, but when you think about it too much, And let me just say, Charlie obviously ends up shooting Ethan, kills him dead there. I'm kind of
4 times, by the way.
Yes. Well, Hurley says 4 times later.
Did you also count 6?
Actually 6.
Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently it was really 6. Hurley says 4, but then again, Hurley wasn't there. So
I had 6 originally in my notes, and then when Hurley says 4, I went, oh, well, maybe I just miscounted or something. So I went back and wrote 4. But if you're saying it's 6, I'm going to go with 6.
We'll compromise here and say he fired 6, only 4 hit him.
Okay.
That's my explanation. Because obviously Charlie shouldn't be a crack shot.
Still a better record than Sawyer. Never mind. Keep going.
Depends how close they were, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I have that, because he killed him, they're all pissed at him, and rightfully so. But then the next day, he defends his actions by saying that Ethan deserved to die, and how he wouldn't let Ethan even have the possibility of hurting Claire ever again.
Yeah, I have to say that this is one of the reasons why I like Charlie in this episode, because when I was watching that whole thing, I was also thinking, yeah, kill the guy. I mean, don't give him the slightest chance at survival, because that he's just going to come back and mess things up. And again, in Spanish we have a saying that you shouldn't even give water to your enemy. So in this case, I say yes, kill the guy.
Yeah, and I'm obviously 100% in agreement. I think, about, my mom, my grandma, my aunt, my 2 sisters. I got 2 nieces. If there's somebody out there who's that much of a threat to any of them, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm doing what I got to do.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Oh, that was total Jersey right there. I'm doing what I gotta do.
That was Jersey
It comes
strong.
out of me every now and then. It comes out of me. What can I say?
And then I understand that they just want to, the rest of the group, they just want to get information out of Ethan. Let's be honest, Saeed just wants to torture the guy. But I completely understand, Charlie's, approach.
Well, actually, I have the fact that Charlie makes a good point on that, because he says, he wouldn't have really told us anything, which, as we know, spoiler, a captured other doesn't really give up much information.
True.
Mm-hmm. So the end game may have been the same.
And I mean, or not. Maybe he could have, escaped or something, and then he would have ended up hurting somebody. So again, Charlie, made the right call here.
Whoa.
Yep. See, I don't even have to argue. I thought I was going to have to come in here and go Jersey even more. But...
I have in the flashback, Lucy knows everything, and Charlie tries explaining himself, and he actually tells her the truth about why he took the job. He truly liked her. I thought that was a nice little moment for him, especially when the episode started out with him being like, I'm going to con this girl. And then by the end, he's like, I just want to tell her the truth.
And she says something that I'm not familiar with. Maybe if we have any listeners from the UK. She says, it smells of your sick. Now, I'm curious if that's just something that Damon Lindelof, who wrote the episode, came up with on his own, or if that's something they actually say in England.
I'm fairly certain they don't call it vomit, they call it sick. It's kind of like they don't say bathroom, they say like, I'm going to go to the toilet or something, or go to the loo. I'm pretty sure sick is actually, that is an actual thing.
Yeah, I would give him that credit, but personally, I've never heard it myself. So I was just curious, rather than say your vomit or your puke or anything else, she says you're sick. And that word always just stuck out to me.
Maybe it's also to reference the fact that, that he's a junkie, and, that he's sick in that regard. I don't know. Yeah,
it's also a good point. I was going to make that point is, when you talk about Charlie and some of the things he's done for his fix, you kind of got to think of it as, this is a sick man. This is a disease, that is kind of taking him over, and he's trying to fight that off, and it's not always that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she calls it, he is still trying to do the right thing, hard as it may be for him, but she calls him a selfish bastard. I've been called a selfish bastard, so I can relate. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on and defend Charlie. And then I even had some notes earlier in the episode. He stays up late. He wears funny hats. He knows some Latin. I can relate to Charlie. I really can. So, that's why I wanted to come defend him.
My very last note is, in the caves, Claire tells Charlie she remembers peanut butter, and they have a beautiful moment. But as opposed to before, he doesn't mess it up by pushing too hard. He knows that he needs to earn her trust once again. That's my final note.
Yeah, and like I said, still trying to do right.
Yeah, I feel like, I understand the character of Charlie. I may not agree with most of his decisions, but I have to understand, that he's an addict and that he's basically going through his 12-step program, on an island on his own. So, he has to regain the trust of those who has, I guess, wronged. And in this case, he lost the trust that he had that he had built with Claire. So, I feel a little bit sympathetic for the guy just in this episode. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a nice way. It's almost like a metaphor. He's going through his, whole rehab on his own on an island, and props to him for trying to mend the situation with Claire.
Well said.
Whatever.
Well said.
Whatever.
Before we wrap it up, in doing a little research for this episode, I found an interesting quote from Damon Lindelof, who I mentioned wrote this episode. And he said, Homecoming was flawed on almost every single level that an episode of Lost could be, and that it was his least favorite episode of the entire series.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm thinking maybe it might be, and I don't know what episodes he actually wrote just offhand. It might be his least favorite of the ones he wrote, maybe, but it's far from the worst episode of this series by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, I just feel like we're always, our own worst critics. So of course he's going to criticize his work, but this is not the worst Lost episode. I do, if I were to find a little bit of a critique, would be that it moved too fast. Like, we have the situation with Ethan, and now by the end it was completely resolved, but it was almost like a whole movie in 40 minutes, in my opinion. But I did not find the episode to be flawed. In fact, the island aspect of the whole, not the flashback. I feel like the flashbacks were a little bit, inconsequential. But the whole story in the island, I felt it was very good.
Yeah, as far as the island story goes, like, it was, again, like I said, one of the most pivotal episodes, got some big moments. And the flashback, a lot of the flashbacks always aren't great, but they serve their purpose.
Yeah.
For that juxtaposition, or that relates to what's going on the island. So now I like the episode. Is it in my top 10? No. Is it in my bottom 10? Also no.
Well, maybe top 10 of season 1.
Yes, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I have to say that I really enjoy going back and watching like episodes, like random episodes. For example, I was watching it today, and it felt only like 15 minutes because I was so into it, and it went by so fast. Especially those last 15 minutes where they're going after, or they're setting the bait, which is Claire. That lasted like 2 minutes for me because it was so. I don't know. I get into it a lot. Maybe it's because I'm watching it. I was watching it on my phone while I was eating, and I was wearing my headphones, so I was completely immersed in the whole situation. So I could feel the rain, and I could feel the gunshots, and I could feel the punches. So yeah, I really don't feel like it was. I could name at least 5 or 7 episodes that were, completely worse than this one. Mostly on season 6, but But yeah, this was a good episode.
When is that quote from now?
I believe it was right around the end of the series. Damon might have been doing like a little media tour right towards the end of the show. Okay. So yeah, it's probably pretty all-encompassing as far as matters of the show go.
Okay. Did you guys have anything else in terms of notes on this episode? I know, like I said, Kevin, one of the reasons that you wanted Esteban for this one was because you guys wanted to go head to head, and it didn't really happen. I'm a little upset. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we'll be back for next. We'll be back for the next Charlie centric episode because folks, those of you who are watching the show for the first time, don't let this episode fool you. Charlie, he's not a nice person. You'll be disappointed. Yeah, if you think you like him, go ahead and watch the whole show again. So just so you get like the full picture. He's not a nice guy.
I think that's actually going to do it for this episode. Do you guys have anywhere that they can reach you on social media if they want to keep the discussion going?
Well, if you're going to stand for Charlie, please don't contact me on social media. If you're actually going to share my opinions on Charlie, by all means, you can follow me on Twitter at STBAN24 and also on Instagram at the same handle.
And I'm at 7th Power. Just replace the V in 7 with an actual 7 on everything.
Okay. I I think that's all we have for the episode Homecoming. Thank you again, guys. It's been awesome talking to you. I very much appreciate both of you coming on the show.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Let's do this again sometime.
Oh, because you mean we're going to do the next one in a moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you guys have fun. No, thank you for having me again.
Anytime. I can't believe it's been this long since you were on an episode of the show. You were. You know what? I'm gonna actually state it right here.
I was one of the trailblazers here.
I am gonna throw you under the bus a little bit though. I don't know if I left it in the edit of the episode that's up, but I had asked you about wanting to be on the episode discussing all the best cowboys have daddy issues, but you weren't able to make it, Esteban.
I know. I'm sorry. And even for this one, I believe we had to reschedule, right? Yes, we had to reschedule for this one. I apologize for that. I completely forgot that we were doing this. But I have a busy schedule. I go to school. I work. So yeah, I'm basically, all maxed out. So, but I really, I really enjoy this.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
No. I didn't mean it like that because this is something that I actually look forward to. And, first of all, rewatching an episode of Lost and then, discussing it with people who appreciate the show just as much as I do. So this is something that I truly enjoy.
Well, we
Agreed.
enjoy having
And
you.
thank you, Paul, for having me. And thank you, Esteban, for making my job very easy today.
Yeah, see you next time.
And with
Make
that,
it a date.
With that, I will say our traditional thank you, namaste, and good luck. Wow, that episode was sizzling, wasn't it? For more content like this, how about you subscribe to the channel down below? While you're there, how about you like this particular episode and share it with your friends?